Hey, everybody. My name is Chris Parker, and this is Don Hendry, and we are part of the Hendry and Parker law practice, Hendry and Parker PA to be exact. We have a law practice in Dunedin, Florida, and we've decided to do these little podcast shorts because we get a lot of questions about certain areas of the law, and we thought if we could do these 7 to 10 minute short podcasts where we just have a conversation with one another and talk about these different areas that people are asking us about. Maybe we can get some education out there for some people, and you can kind of get to know us, and we can brush on each one of these little things. Our first one that we're going to talk about today is trial.
Trial.
So, Don, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Don Hendry. I also am with Hendry Parker. Chris and I merged forces and started Hendry Parker back on October 1st. And Chris has a wealth of experience as a prosecutor, and he's been in private practice for some time. I was a public defender for over a decade, and I've been in private practice now for almost 3 years. Between the two of us, we have a lot of trial experience, some of them serious felony trials that could result in life sentences. So from our perspective and most attorneys' perspective, it's a good thing to hire an attorney that's willing to go to trial, depending what your case is, what your charges are. Certainly, it's better to probably negotiate things first, if at all possible, but you're going to be better served by having a lawyer who's willing to go to trial if negotiations don't get you to where you need to be.
And how many trials would you say that you've tried throughout your career?
I'd say first chair, where I was the lead attorney, I think I've probably 25 trials. In addition, I've been second chair on a number of serious trials from murderers to sexual batteries. And that's probably been an additional 10 or 15 trials. So probably 40 total, maybe more.
Yeah, and I'd say that's about where I am. Most of those trials coming from the state attorney side, from the other side. It should be known that we do practice criminal defense law, including DUI defense. We practice areas of any criminal defense, any type of, whether the serious is murder, all the way down to maybe a speeding ticket, which is really not a criminal offense, but maybe a driving on suspended license. So we do a lot of different things. We also do family law, which trial is also important, even though it's not a jury trial. We do family law, which can go to trial, and then we do personal injury, which trial is very important because insurance companies will push you around if they think that you're not willing to go to trial. So I have about the same experience in trial. I've tried a lot of criminal cases. I've tried a lot of different types of criminal cases and felony. We actually met each other while we were at the state attorney's and public defender's office working criminal cases. We actually had cases that we worked out together.
We did.
So it is a good combination, I think, of the two of us working together. And we wanted to talk, though, about the importance of having an attorney who will go and take the case all the way to trial, because trial is kind of the last case scenario where you can't fix things, right? It's like the nuclear option.
Well, it is. And as I said before, if you can get something worked out before trial, all the better. But if you get to a situation where the state is not putting out a reasonable offer for whatever reason, or if you didn't do it and you're not going to plead out to something you didn't do, then we're the folks to talk to, because we enjoy going to trial. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of preparation, but that's why I got into law. There's nothing more exciting than going to trial, being in front of a jury. The butterflies in your stomach as you're awaiting a verdict is something that's very intense, and it can either be a very, very upsetting time if things don't go well, or it can be a wonderful time if your client is acquitted. And we have our share of acquittals.
I had one this week, right?
As a matter of fact, we did.
Just this week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we were both at trial. This was actually one of Don's cases. Don was the lead attorney on this case. A gentleman facing life in prison. Facing life in prison
on a first-degree felony. He was tagged as a designation of someone who's been in trouble a lot of times before, a violent career criminal, according to the state attorney's office. And based on that charge, the fact that he alleged to have had a firearm made him eligible for a life sentence. And there was some argument whether it was mandatory or discretionary. But had he been convicted, he would have done at least 30 to 40 years in prison, which is the equivalent of a life sentence in my mind. That being said, things went well, and our client was acquitted.
He was acquitted, yes, and he was very happy, obviously. But, we get a lot of clients who, swear to us, and we believe them that they didn't do what they've been charged with doing. That doesn't mean that they're completely innocent of anything, but a lot of times they've been overcharged, and they're forced to go in and make a deal with the state, even though the state may not have a very strong case. As a state attorney, when I practiced, if I had an attorney on the other side who I was dealing with, who I knew was willing to fight, who was a scrapper, who was somebody that was going to go to trial, they were going to pick a good jury, and they were going to make a strong case, and they were going to poke holes in my case, I was a little bit quicker to make a better offer to those attorneys. So hiring an attorney who's willing to go to trial doesn't just mean, well, they're only good if they go to trial. It changes everything, right?
It can make the world of difference in terms of negotiations. As Chris was saying, if the prosecutor realizes that the attorney on their other side is going to hold their feet to the fire and make them prove every element of the case, they may be a little more reluctant to go forward. And it's critical to have somebody that's good in trial and that enjoys to go to trial.
And the state, if there's one thing the state hates, is losing trial, because you put so much into it. You've got so much trial preparation. You're subpoenaing people to come in. Oftentimes the trials get continued, so they're coming in 2-3 times. You're bringing in all these witnesses, and it's not easy to get these people subpoenaed, to bring them in, to serve them, and then to get them to stay, and then you got to convince them to come back. You're wasting a lot of taxpayers' dollars if you go to a trial and lose. Some state attorneys take the position that, hey, we've got to at least try it. But the last thing that they want is to lose a trial. So if they think that you're going to go and they don't have a good chance against you, they start to squirm up a little bit.
They do. They do. And a trial, all trials have, basic components to them. One being the jury pick, which is critically important.
Yes.
2, of course, you have opening statements. After that, both sides have an opportunity to put on their case. The state attorney puts on their case first. If the defense chooses to put forth witnesses in a defense, they can. In some cases, that's the best way to go. Other cases, it may be better to not put on a defense, make the state prove their case. And oftentimes that's successful.
It's a chess match. It certainly is. And the more experience that you have at it, the better you become at it. The more relatable that you can become to a jury, the more you do it. When you go out and you try to find an attorney, the first thing you should ask them is, how many trials do they have? How often do they go to trial? Whether it be a criminal case, whether it be a family law case, or whether it be a personal injury case. Find out what their experiences are in front of juries or in trial in general, because if they're the kind of people that settle everything, the other side's going to know that, and the offers and the settlement agreements are going to reflect that. So we've reached our time for our first short. We thank you for listening. We'll have more of these where we'll talk about certain topics. If you would like for us to talk about certain topics that you'd like to hear about, just put it in writing and put it in the Facebook comments or whatever, wherever you see this, type it in, and we'll try to cover it too. So that's all we have for our first little podcast short. Thank you for being here, and thank you for calling, for helping us out. And give us a call. It's 205-727 727-205-5555, and you can also get us at HenryParker.com. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you soon.